It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
And my name is Vania.
And B.
B. I didn't get to finish writing my answer, though. Fuck, man, I timed out.
Nice little HHN at home joke for everybody there.
Yeah, so, as you guys know, we had an amazing time at HHN at home. I was kind of all over the place at HHN at home. I was out and about, but I was also home at the same time. It was very weird. But I was glad I was able to participate. And of course, that reference is from the Quiplash game. It is basically the new Steve Cream. It's all the good things, but on top, even with all the craziness, on top of that, there is so much going in the horror community right now, and it's only June.
Absolutely. We have a lot to discuss. We actually, this is kind of like a 3-part episode type thing, because we have a couple of horror, just like general horror news to discuss, like a bunch of stuff that's being released. We also have a little bit of a discussion on HHN at home and our thoughts on that and our participation on that. And also we are going to be talking about the latest Spec map that just released this same day, the day we're recording this podcast. So we're very excited to talk about that because I know there's been a couple changes and it's going to be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's definitely a lot to talk about, and in the sense that the reason why I was saying that is because in the speculation map, if you guys have seen my YouTube video and basically our podcast from when we were on hiatus and then we suddenly came back, not a lot has changed, but
we came back from the grave.
We came back from the grave, and it was just a lot of it's more of an either-or situation and definitely interesting scare zones to discuss. So, but we will get to that. But for now, we're going to get onto our latest horror news, especially in the cinematography and the theme park world. So let's get it.
Yep. So we have a couple headlines we're going to go through here. It's actually one of the headlines does relate to haunt season. So I think we're going to hit that one last. So we're going to jump a little bit on that one. But anyway, our first big headline is that they have already announced a third Quiet Place movie, which is actually set to be a spin-off. And it has already been announced that it is set to release in 2023 through Paramount.
It's what's crazy is that the fact that the movie just released this year and then suddenly we're already getting a spinoff. It's kind of what I was telling Yussef before this podcast actually started is that like A Quiet Place is supposed to be like a Netflix original, which is weird that suddenly they just removed it and now it's like become a movie that you need to watch in theaters or now through another streaming service, which I thought was interesting. But you know, I genuinely enjoyed the Quiet Place. It's definitely very interesting. It's a very, I think it's a better version of Bird Box. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does, because Bird Box is kind of a shit show. Like, I honestly didn't really like Bird Box. Quiet Place did it so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like Quiet Place Part 2. I did have a review of that up on YouTube. That is somewhere in there.
Don't spoil it. I didn't watch it yet.
No, believe me, it's a non-spoiler review. It's just like basic story without any spoilers, and also more on like the technical side of it. Just because like I liked the actual production of the film, but I think a lot of that, what you were discussing with the whole Netflix thing, I think it has to do with the fact that it now has a different distribution company. Like now Paramount kind of picked up the distribution rights for it, so now they can kind of do whatever they want with it. So that's why I'm pretty sure that's why they're doing it on Paramount Plus now. Because they're like, we gotta sell this thing. We already have all the stuff with the 90s kids with all the Nickelodeon cartoons. We gotta have something else in there too.
Yeah, but I feel like also HBO Max is also competing for a lot of our attention,
Oh yeah.
especially with if you guys actually have HBO, like HBO Max, they have Courage the Cowardly Dog, they have, I think, Powerpuff Girls, but I could be wrong.
They do.
They have basically everything that you actually grew up with. I grew up with, so it's definitely a lot.
Not to mention, the fact that you can now see certain movies through HBO Max that are coming out in theaters at the same time. Like you can see In the Heights, you can see the new Conjuring. Especially, like if some of you are still trying to do your best to social distance, that's still the perfect option for you. And it also stops you from having to pay $16 for a bucket of popcorn.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do miss the movies, but I feel like um pandemic has definitely given some open doors to the streaming services.
Oh yeah.
And that's like the new prime of entertainment media, and it sucks because now theaters are not thriving. I mean, I miss seeing movies on the big screen, but it does actually feel good to be able to see those movies in the comfort of your own home as well, and not having to deal with screaming babies and people being absolutely annoying talking in the theater, that kind of thing.
I totally agree. Like I've already been to the movies a few times because I went to see Tenet, I went to see Spiral, Quiet Place Part 2, and then I just today at the moment that we were recording this, I went to see In the Heights. And at one point I almost burst out laughing because there was this guy like a couple of rows away from us, and when a certain character would show up on screen, he would just say Mamacita.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was the funniest thing because this guy would just randomly, I don't know, just be like, Mamacita.
Oh my gosh.
But at the same time, I grew up like going to the theater experience because my mom used to work for marketing, and part of that was going to see film premieres. So I was at the movies constantly. Like that's just like part of my DNA at this point. So I'd rather go to the movie theater to see it, even though I have it at home. I can see it at home. Like I just like the experience of going to a theater.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a little different. For me, it's just like the movie theaters is for. I like it, but it's just I like the atmosphere of premiere movies, especially when everybody's enjoying it, everybody's giving off the same energy. I'm talking more for Marvel films, but this is not a Marvel podcast, but I'm just gonna let this slide for a second. But it's definitely like the energy that it gives off. But other than that, like when it comes to horror films, like it's kind of hard, at least for me, to enjoy it. So I definitely like watching it in the comfort of my own home. I enjoy like movie theaters. It's just you gotta enjoy it with the right people, and if not, alone, do it alone.
Yeah.
Be like me, be a loner.
Yeah, but moving on to our next horror headline. This one I just thought was interesting. I'm actually going to let you take this one, Vania, because I think you might like this one.
So the next horror news that we have is Rob Zombie is going to be releasing a movie of The Monsters, and I definitely love The Monsters. It's definitely one of my favorites. Classic monster series, especially more for the Frankenstein family, or the monsters Frankenstein family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I definitely grew up with the series. For me, I mostly grew up with like Jason Marsden being Eddie kind of thing. But I definitely like going back into watching the original and then the one with Jason Marsden and forward. But I think it's going to be very interesting because Rob Zombie has a really interesting way of like having his movies to be dark but still comedic at the same time, And I feel like Monsters has a very light tone to it, like a very family-esque dark tone, like Monsters tone, if you know what I mean. I don't know how to describe it. Like,
yeah, it's kind of like almost like dark comedy.
Yeah, dark comedy for
Yeah.
sure. So, Um, so I'm like super excited about it, and I wonder how it's gonna go out with
Oh yeah, I'm very very excited for this. I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. I'm a huge fan of his films. I think the only one I actually haven't seen is Lords of Salem, but everything else I have seen multiple times because I'm such a big fan of his. And I kind of had a feeling that he would be getting to do this eventually because he's talked about wanting to do a Munsters movie for years. And I'm so
Yeah,
glad that he finally got the chance to do it. And it's going through Universal, which I think is an even bigger deal
yeah. I
because
mean
that
that
also might give us a hint. Depending on how the movie goes, we might get that as an HHN house. Depending on,
would be
obviously
good.
depends on what type of movie he's going to make and depends on how well the movie does as well.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very excited for it. I'm interested to see what he's going to bring to the table because The Munsters is wildly different from his usual type of film.
For sure. That's what I
And
thought.
I'm just really excited for his spin on it. Like, I wonder if he's going to try and keep that comedic tone or if he's going to just go balls to the wall, dark, gory mess like he usually does.
Yeah. I think I'm excited for it because I feel like he could bring some sort of new life to the monsters, but at the same time, because I feel like the monsters have such a light tone to like the original, especially the TV series, that it's kind of hard to see where it's gonna go. But I trust his judgment. I guess he had it pictured in his head for a really long time, so there is nothing wrong with that. So I'm definitely gonna give it a benefit of the doubt, and I definitely think it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you want to talk us into our next one, Yusuf?
I do. This is also something I'm very, very excited about. So this was
I
released.
have no idea.
This is something that was released a couple days ago. It was reported that the creator of Hannibal, the TV show that was on NBC and you can now see it on Netflix, Brian Fuller, he's actually going to be directing a reboot slash like re-sequel type thing to Stephen King's Christine. As soon as I read that, I was like, oh my god, I need to see this immediately. Because I'm a huge fan of Hannibal. I really like that show. It's dark. It's like it. I would describe that show as horrifically elegant because obviously these characters are doing horrible, awful things, but it's presented in such a beautiful way. It's like watching a painting. And I'm trying to imagine what that would look like with Christine. And honestly, I just can't wait to watch this.
And y'all thought my knife kink was bad. No, I'm kidding. No, it's a joke. It's a joke. I still haven't seen Hannibal, so I don't know what he's talking about. But I can definitely see his point of view on it. But Yusuf, low key psychopath. Man, no, I can definitely see it. Yeah, it seems like Stephen King is getting a lot of his work out there in the world right now,
Hmm.
especially just being turned into films or TV series. But that's something that we're gonna have to talk about a little later once we're done with all these news. But damn, like
Yeah,
he's doing so good.
because he's yeah
Um,
there's a lot more adaptations in the pipeline that we can definitely discuss later. Because I'm
mhm,
very excited to talk about those too.
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like just our basic horror headlines. Now Vanya here is going to bring us over to our haunt related headlines.
Yeah, so you guys were probably just as fucking shocked as I was, and the entire Floridian coast. So I've been going to Hollow Scream, uh, not as continuously as I have been to HHN. I have skipped some years in Hollow Scream, but I have gone back last year, and it was still just as well. They didn't do houses last year; they did more scare zones. But you could walk through multiple times. They kind of treated it kind of like a house, but outdoors. So it was a little weird dynamic. It was like 50 to $40 to $50. But either way, because pandemic is over, Hollow Screams decided to open its doors to a whole nother animal, in its little sister theme park called SeaWorld. And SeaWorld is actually doing their own Hollow Scream, which is surprising to me. Everybody, we were just mind boggled, like, what the fuck, like, why SeaWorld? Like, of all, I mean, I get it because I feel like we have a little bit more land, personally, I feel like we have a little bit more land than Busch Gardens to work with, especially with houses and whatnot. But for them to be able to bring an event, kind of like a sea horror event, to Orlando and to make it run in two sides of the coast is wild. So I am super excited for it, and it seems like it's mostly very siren related, very sea related. So if you guys are into marine life and horror, come on down and do that stuff. And their tickets, if you buy the unlimited ticket, it actually includes the unlimited visits to both Hollow Scream in Busch Gardens, Tampa, and Orlando. I think it's like 150, but that's not bad. I don't think it's bad at all. I usually pay 80 to 100 for just Hollow Scream, the fast pass for an hour to get through all the houses in 1 hour, and then the Fiend show, which everybody literally, like, Hollow Scream ain't shit without the sorry, it ain't shit without the Fiend show. If you go to Hollow Scream, you know that the Fiend show is something that you look forward to every year because it's different. The show is kind of like basically Carnival of Carnage, but you know, we're talking about like classic monsters and but different choreography, different jokes of each generation as years go by. It's definitely it's gonna be an amazing event. I hope that they bring Fiends to SeaWorld because that would be amazing, but that's just me geeking out. But personally, to me, I think Hollow Scream repeats their houses a lot, which is why I wouldn't prefer them over Halloween Horror Nights. But since this is a brand new event, I think this is going to be super something that to look forward to. You know, have two brand new houses in Tampa, and we get new houses in SeaWorld. So.
Oh yeah, like I think I was like just floored by this announcement, especially because it just came out of nowhere. Like there was nothing hinted about it, like no like little tidbits dropped. It was just like
Hansi knew about it, and I was like, "Whoa, what?" Like Johnny knew about it, and
it was
and
literally
then they
like
posted
just,
it the day of.
like it was just dropped out of nowhere. Yeah, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! Howler Scream is coming to SeaWorld." I'm down because I personally have never experienced Howler Scream at all. Mostly because I don't see myself driving to Tampa just for one night for a haunt. Unless I like stay there the night and come back the next day or something like that. But
That's
even then, that's like,
lie.
yeah, I don't know.
It's a whole ass lie, let me tell y'all.
I mean, kind of, considering I once drove to Merritt Island for a 10-minute haunt because I'm insane.
Guys, go watch our YouTube video where we go Tomorrow's Nightmare. What?
Well, that's different. That's different. That was more for like a media event.
And that's not a haunt?
Yeah,
That's not a haunt?
yeah. Okay, you know what I mean, though.
I was like, I wouldn't drive to Tampa.
Okay, fine. I would, but at the same time, it's one of those things where like, all right, okay, I guess I would, but at the same time, I like the convenience of not having to drive to Tampa if I don't have to.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I think this would be a fun way for me to just experience Howler Scream for the first time. So yeah, I'm excited for it. The way that they're marketing it sounds interesting with the whole horrors of the sea type thing. I am expecting a lot of stuff to do with like subphobia, I think it's what it's called. So like people that are like afraid
No,
of
it's
stuff
like
underwater.
I think that there's like it starts with a no, but I could be wrong.
Oh, I don't know,
But
but whatever it is, I'm excited for it. Just like imagine Depths of Fear, but as an entire park.
Thalassophobia.
Glassophobia?
Thalassophobia.
Yeah, that one.
Or It's a specific phobia that can negatively affect your quality of life, especially if you are afraid of the ocean or what lives beneath it. So, if you guys are always kind of like me, where we're always worried if some creature or something's just gonna grab us on our leg and just drag us into the depths of hell. Yeah, I feel like it's that kind of thing. So, I mean, I don't think I've ever had thalassophobia, but I definitely thought about it where like there's like, I was like, oh, what
Oh,
if someone just grabs me in the middle of the ocean and just goodbye.
oh, I'm actually totally expecting there to be a cameo by that glowing fish from Finding Nemo. I want to see that. I want to see that come to life in front of me and just scare the bejesus out of me. But that's just
Sure.
my wishful thinking. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. I'm definitely gonna be able to. I'm definitely gonna go to that. We're definitely gonna go to
So
that because we got to do that
yeah,
together.
sure. It just makes me wonder. This is the one last thing because I have a lot of memories. At Hollow Scream. There's a lot of, like I said, Hollow Scream does just have the tendency to repeat their houses a lot. Um, they did have a pirate ship house. So I'm guessing if they're gonna go somewhere around that route, where they're just gonna be recycling a lot of those things from that house and using it for things for the ones in SeaWorld, and then other stuff that they have done. Because what in the one in Busch Gardens, they do a lot of like clowns. They do a lot of hotel themes. Clowns for sure. Like they freaking clowns everywhere. Like there's and the thing about Hollow Scream is that there is no scare zone per se. Everywhere is a scare zone. They will follow you to the bathroom. You will literally, like, you're literally just chilling, minding your own business, and you just see these scare actors in the bushes, and they're just scraping things on your
Oh
feet. And I'm like,
God,
what are you doing? That's the only thing that I do admire about Busch Gardens, especially like the bungee jumpers.
no,
But
I'm all for that.
yeah, so there's definitely a lot to go off of. I'm just hoping that they don't follow in the footsteps of Tampa, because if this actually turns out to be a really good event, the I feel like they should at least follow in some kind of footsteps of Howling Hornets, where they at least change two houses a year, because nobody wants to see the same thing. And if
Exactly.
they have fiends, even better, because that's our motivation to go to Hollow Screams. We all know that.
See,
Fiends
like I
is
said, I've
literally
never
everything.
experienced it, so I'm gonna have to definitely. If they bring it over to the SeaWorld version, I'm definitely checking that out because
Yeah,
like I said, I have no experience whatsoever with Hollow
it's
Scream.
the drug. Fiends, everything is everything in that haunt. But anyway, I'm gonna stop geeking out about it just a little bit. Definitely, HHN is still superior. Sorry. So we're gonna be talking about uh, the Las Vegas attraction, the Escape Blair Witch
Yes,
project.
yes, yes, yes,
Basically,
yes.
they transport Blair Witch and fans to Burkittsville, Maryland. So yeah, take
Yeah,
it from here.
yes. So this is an escape room themed after the Blair Witch Project. Um, the reason this struck out to me is because the company that's developing this escape room also developed a Saw-based escape room in Las Vegas, which last time I went to Vegas, or really the only time I went to Vegas, I saw it advertised. I was only there literally for like a day, so I didn't really get a chance to see much.
Darn.
But I'm planning another trip to Vegas next year anyways, so I'm definitely gonna be hitting that up, and I'm definitely gonna be hitting up the Blair Witch escape room.
Hopefully, they keep it up for an entire year.
I'm really hoping they do as well
Yeah.
because I'm interested to see how well, at least for the Saw one, because as you know, I'm a big fan of the Saw franchise in general. I'm interested to see how well they translate that kind of stuff to an escape room because it's pretty easy. I think it's escape rooms, traps, games, Saw. Like that's it in a nutshell. Now, again, I've actually never seen Blair Witch. That's like my unpopular horror opinion. Or my one thing that people are like, "What? You've never seen that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've never seen Blair Witch," because I'm not a huge fan of found footage horror films. They give me nausea because I don't like shaky cam for anything. But I'm definitely gonna have to watch it if I want to experience that escape room
Yeah.
to the fullest.
I have also never seen Blair Witch. I would like to, but the thing is, like, my first shaky film was what was the one with the aliens? Damn, started with the
Uh,
C. Started with the C.
Cloverfield.
Cloverfield. Yes, Cloverfield. I remember I was in middle school and I watched that movie. It was so nauseous at the end of
Yeah,
that film. So nauseous. I was like, what? Like I had no idea what I was watching half the time. So Blair Witch is definitely a touchy subject for me, for as in like the shaky cam aspect. But I definitely see the appeal of it. But if I can actually power through, I'm pretty sure that's why there's like a whole cult following for this movie. For sure, there has to be something appealing about it. If like everybody worships it, and like they're always like talking about it. And
yeah.
I've heard rumors that people from Florida helped film it, but I could be wrong.
Oh no, yeah, it's like a whole thing where like some of the part of the crew was members or students from UCF.
Go Knights!
Good job making a really popular horror movie that still, is very popular today. But yeah, that is pretty much all that we had horror headline wise. So after that, we are going to discuss our experiences with HHN at home.
Yes. So, like I said, I was everywhere that day. So, I was experiencing it, but I wasn't. So, where were you?
So I unfortunately, this is the same thing that happened to me the last time they did HHN at home. It just did not coincide with my schedule, like personal life wise, because I happened to have family visiting from Puerto Rico, and we went to Tampa or St. Petersburg for that day. So I couldn't just be glued to Twitter and Discord because I was spending time with family. I didn't get home until like late that night, so I only really got to participate in the Quiplash games. And to be honest, I was really, really drunk during all of that because we had gone to eat and we went to have Japanese food, and I decided to have a lot of sake. Not my best
Okay,
idea.
steps though.
Not my best idea, but it made for a really entertaining game of Quiplash.
For sure. Man, I wish I kind of saw that. I kind of got off after my round in Quiplash. But yeah, it was fun. For me, I was kind of out and about with family. We had actually won a free night at the resort because my parents are cast members, and they give every cast member like a chance to win a free night at a resort. So we actually won one for Coronado Springs. We spent the night there. And then I woke up the next morning. Literally, my eyes were glued to Twitter while I was in the pool. And, just finding out what was going on. And then there were times where I had to go pick up my friends. So I couldn't have my eyes glued to Twitter. So I was like on and off for a bit. Entered a few giveaways, did my own giveaways with the makeup. Again, congratulations to all of you who won those. We raised over $2,800 for the Trevor Project. So you guys are
Yes.
fucking awesome for doing that. We all did
Yes.
that shit together as a community. And that was awesome. Like I don't think they ever expected to go over 250. It's considering, our circumstances, but the fact that we raised 2,800 plus bitchin' dollars for such a like great fundraiser was definitely. I'm pretty sure it was shocked. I thought pretty sure we were gonna hit 3,000. I was pretty confident we were gonna hit 3,000.
Yeah, we came pretty close to it. But yeah, a similar situation. I wasn't able to get on Twitter constantly. I did enter, I think, 2 giveaways, but yeah, it was more of me enjoying the Quiplash game and just kind of getting closer to the people in that in the HHN community. I had a lot of fun just getting to participate in some of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just had a ton of fun. I'm so happy that they did this again.
Yeah.
And
It's a little like off that they did it in June, but I get it. I get the appeal of it. You
yeah, I
know?
think it had more to do with like the halfway point to Horror Nights, or like the halfway to Halloween point type thing. I understand that. So that's a good way to set up. It's like, hey, we're halfway there. Like, we're almost there.
Hey guys, don't panic, but 85 more days until HHN.
Wait, don't panic. Wait, what? I'm panicking already. What?
85.
85,
85
oh my
days
God.
until it.
You mean Vamp 85 days? Oh, you got so quiet. I'm assuming you didn't like that joke.
I was like, at that point, you're trying too hard. Sit down. Like,
Wow,
sit
sit
down.
down. Be
Sit
humble.
down. Sit down, little bitch. No, kidding. But yeah, it was definitely fun. I won a couple, only two. I won the Bindman art, the Prince, which was included these animatronic icons, the Terror Queen, and of course the Vamp 85, which is my favorite scare zone. And then I won something from another podcast, which was like icons, like postcards with like their signature and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. I liked it. So yeah, and I had a lot of fun. Played one round of Quiplash. Tried to start an Aaron the Shark trend that didn't fly, but hey, it was an attempt. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed HHN at home, and it's I'm glad that they did it again for sure. Yeah.
And it's nice to like, to be able to interact with the people in the community, especially now that HHN is definitely happening. It's going to give us a chance to maybe meet some of the people in the community in person and just like enjoy a couple nights at HHN, or even if it's just one night at HHN with them. I'm very excited to do that and to meet up with some people.
Yeah, me too. And I also like watched Halloween 3 for the first time during the watch along.
Really?
Yeah, I've never watched it.
Oh,
so.
we got to talk about that on an episode then, because Halloween 3
Yeah.
is super underrated in my opinion. I love Halloween 3.
Yeah, I watched it twice because it was like a rental kind of thing. But yeah, I watched it for the first time. I haven't actually watched Creepshow 1982 either. But I actually couldn't make it to that watch along because I was doing something. But I made it to the Halloween 3, and I thought that was super interesting. It's a very interesting movie. It's weird because the music does get to you, and you sing it in your head without realizing.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of
the
fucking
whole
weird.
Shamrock.
It's a
Oh.
Shamrock tune sticks. It's
It
kind of
really, I mean, it plays on that. It plays on the movie constantly. Like, you are never without hearing that song in the movie.
yeah. So, but
But
regarding
anyway.
Halloween 3.
Yes,
Makes
but
us even more excited for the
for the new Spec Man.
Spec Man.
But anyway, before we get to that, I did want to mention like one last thing about HHN at home, and that is regarding the Creepshow watch along. Again, I didn't get to participate in that either, but I've liked Creepshow. I've seen it a few times already. I still think Erin won that watch along when she posted that TikTok of the waterlogged couple with castaways put on it.
Castaways.
We are castaways. It's like cracked me up. Like, I watched it multiple times.
I haven't seen it. I don't think I came across it. Sorry, Aaron. But like, yeah, like you need to send it to me. But
Yeah,
I
I'll
don't
send
think
it
I've
to you.
actually
It's
come
really
across
funny.
it. Yeah. Like,
But anyway, that's all I really wanted to say about that. We do have to move on to our super duper awesome spec map.
yeah. So, what's crazy enough is that we actually had another episode planned, and then we just decided to halt
Yeah.
all of our fucking breaks, and we're like, wait.
Yeah, so
The
that, yeah, we
spec map has dropped.
exactly. So yeah, that
Shall
episode,
wait?
it's written, it's ready to go. It's just on the back burner until for the foreseeable future, because I know we already have an idea sort of for the next episode after this. but that's for later on. So today we're just discussing this spec map.
So now that we actually have the spec map in front of us, we can discuss some of the houses. Unfortunately and fortunately, there's pros and cons to the spec map. Fortunately, not a lot has changed. Fortunately, we're seeing. I think for the first time, I feel like we have been added two houses as a possibility rather than
I think so too.
just one solid one.
Yeah,
So,
where like one of them is kind of like up in the air, where it could be one or the other.
one or the other, exactly. Well, obviously not in 11th house, but
Yeah, like
it's definitely one or the other because it's definitely two really strong possibilities. As you guys already know in Halloween Horror Nights, HHN at Home, during the fan events, they had us do a watch along of Creep Show, the 1982 movie, and we also got to do the watch along of Halloween 3, so the Season of the Witch. So, but we will just be discussing those a little bit later. But let's go into the main houses that has still remained, and one of them is, of course, Bride of Frankenstein Lives. Still an amazing house. I would love to see this one come back, but it's also going to be very surprising seeing this in its full glory without any plexiglass. What do you guys? What do you
yes.
think?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely thinking because it was so popular during the HHN Light. It's definitely coming back. I can't wait to see that without plexiglass, where they're able to get up close and personal with you, and I'm like, that's it's gonna be amazing. I'm super excited for it, and especially because who knows, they might actually change some stuff around based on what people have said about it, about like HHN Light. So who knows, they might add some stuff, they might change some stuff. That would be interesting to see.
Second house that we will be talking about is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. As you guys have already heard me talk about this, and during our first discussion of the speculation map, I have very mixed feelings about Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I did get to experience it during Halloween Horror Nights 26. It just felt like a really relatively short house to me personally. But I would definitely like to see this one improved and definitely something that comes a little bit more in fruition, I guess you could say.
I have no mixed feelings about this. As you already know, Texas Chainsaw is my all-time favorite horror movie. It's also the one house that the one house I really wanted to experience, and of course I didn't go to 26. Never got to experience it, and if this comes back, I'm going to be one very happy camper. I need to see this as a haunted house before I die.
So yeah, with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think for Yussef, I feel like it should return so you can experience it. But I still have my mixed feelings about it. But yeah, and so we are going to be moving on to the third house. And it is Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. I know a lot of you guys have a love-hate for this house. You guys love it because we all really hate that little brat that just didn't want to give his tooth away, but at the same time, we freaking fall in love with the facade and the fact that it looks like a pop-up book and it's amazing, that kind of thing. So definitely with Revenge of the Tooth Fairy, I'm so excited that it has stayed in the fact that we actually get to see it without plexiglass, because plexiglass was the one that was giving away all the scares. Still scared me, but I feel like that's the biggest problem that a lot of people had with this house.
Yeah, as you know, I definitely love the facade. It's one of the best facades I've ever seen for a Horror Nights house. But yeah, regarding the plexiglass, it really, really hurt the house in terms of the scares, because the way it was lit, you could see all the plexiglass, so you could see where all the scares were going to come from. But yeah, I'm confident that this house will be a lot different without the plexiglass, and I feel like I'm going to enjoy it a lot more without it.
So let me ask you this, Yussef.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think I 100% get why? Okay, let's actually back this up a little bit.
Okay.
Just a tad bit.
Okay.
With Bride of Frankenstein Lives, normally in that soundstage they host IPs. It is their own IP, but it's definitely not something that's usually own. So basically, like it's their own IP,
Mm-hmm.
but they usually have somebody else's IP in that uh,
Soundstage.
soundstage. So hear me out. Why do you think they decided to open just Bride of Frankenstein Lives and then Revenge of the Tooth Fairy? It could have been anybody on the freaking map.
Um, I'm not really sure, honestly. I think because usually that spot is it's kind of like where they like the area where they put Tooth Fairy. It's kind of like heads or tails. Like they use it every once in a while for an IP, but every once in a while they'll also use it for an original. Like the year before, they used it for Us.
Yeah.
So I think it
But
just depends.
they also housed Scary Tales.
Exactly. So I think they do it like, 1 year it's going to be an IP, the next year it's going to be an original, and they just trade them back and forth.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of it, what it has to do with that soundstage for Brides, I think it's just like the amount of space it gives you, because it does give you a good amount of like open space, and it gives you a good amount of space available to do big scenes, which
Yeah.
is something that I noticed Bride had. It had a lot of major big scenes, like the entry facade where you see the bride trying to lift the beam that fell on the monster, the big scene where she's draining the blood off of Dracula's wives, like all that stuff. They were relatively large, expansive areas with big scenes in them.
Yeah.
So
So I'm gonna actually wait until we go a little bit further down the list. I just think it's a little interesting. I wish I could kind of pick on Universal's brain a little bit of why they decided specifically these two houses and nothing ever more in these other IP or not other things that were on the speculation map that could have attracted thousands. I mean, I don't think they were trying to attract a lot of people, but they definitely wanted still some kind of income to come through their parks, if you know what I mean.
yeah, I'm thinking it's one of those things where like you don't want to show your ace in the hole. You want to hold on to that, especially when people are able to come to the park and experience that at 100%.
Yeah, like for example, when they actually opened Stranger Things to the public after Halloween Horror Nights was done, they had it for another 2 extra days. So I don't know if you would consider that like an extra, like, I don't know, kind of like a preview of what they might have thought of doing in the past, where they kind of want to open some of the like IPs to day guests, and they have had this planned all along, and then they kind of finally get to test it out, like during, unfortunately, a worldly phenomenon,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So yeah, it's something that I definitely, if you
it's
if you were
possible.
for Universal, please let me nitpick at your brain because it's driving me nuts. Anyway, so the fourth house, it is HHN Icons captured. We
Yes.
we all know about the rumors about this one, where basically if you look behind a certain curtain in Tooth Fairy, you actually see a Fierce Lantern, and you get to see other horror icons. But I actually also heard that two different things. It was either near Men in Black or it's right behind Tooth Fairy. So it's definitely like really weird why they would have a HHN's icon like house like near the front of the park rather than the back of the park, if you know what I mean.
It's probably um because it is going to be like their main ticket. They want everybody to be able to see that first.
Yeah.
Probably why. At the same time, though, I think it would make more sense to have it at the back, because people that way can see everything and then have that as their final house. You know.
Yeah, because a lot of people, if you have, well, I've been during Silver Screen and Halloween Horror Nights 20, of course 25. They're known to have their icons house in the back of the park. Why now in the front?
Well,
You
they,
know,
they
like
didn't do it for
it's a
25
little.
because like Jack's house was like the first house you walked into in 25.
25 years of Monsters and Mayhem?
Yeah, it was like one of the
I thought that was
first
in the back of
houses.
the house.
Oh no, that was like one of the first houses.
I'm pretty sure I walked into that now, and I think it was in the back of the house. Someone prove me
Pretty
wrong,
sure.
please.
I'm pretty sure it
I
was the one
don't
like
know.
I'm pretty sure it was like I think it was the one that was like the entrance was by the rocket.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see,
Anyway,
because I don't
we're
remember.
we're getting off
But
topic here.
yeah,
But our
we're trying to remember a lot of things. We're just excited. It's okay. So we are going to be going to our fifth house, which is Welcome to Scary Horror of
yes.
the Heartland, and I've been excited because I've always wanted to go dive deeper into the Cary, Ohio lore. So yeah, I don't know what to expect with this house, honestly.
I'm kind of
But
expecting it to be like scenes from all the houses that have been, that have been set in Cary, Ohio. So like Wyandotte Estate, the schoolhouse, definitely Leave It to Cleaver. That's got to be in there because that is kind of like a cult favorite.
yeah.
Like stuff like that. So I'm thinking it's probably just going to be like all the stuff that was set, like houses or maybe even scare zones that were like set during or set in Cary, Ohio. Which I would be down for. Like I love,
Legendary Truth.
yeah, I love that whole idea of having this one town where literally all this shit happens. Like even Shady Brook is in Cary, Ohio, like the asylum. So like there's a lot they can do with that.
Yeah, as you guys also know that Universal always tries to do some type of like Easter egg within the realm of the HHN icons. As we got, if you guys have been, I mean, they did it during American Horror Story, where they actually put like Jack's little face in some areas of the freak show area, but in carnival games I feel like that's something that's based around Cary, Ohio itself, because they also did have Jack on some of the stuff as well, so
That is true.
we actually could be expanding on the story of Cary, Ohio within that. So
Yeah. But yeah, our next house on the spec map is called the Wicked Growth Realm of the Pumpkin,
still
which
think it's the Pumpkin Lord.
I'm thinking it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be like a sequel to Twisted Traditions, which
Everybody's
was a
been saying
really
that,
really good
yeah.
scare zone. So I'm like, yeah, I think that would translate really well to a house because I'm
Yeah.
imagining a mix of Twisted Tradition with Scarecrow the Reaping.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, because I actually, when I first started to go into more of the speculation maps, I did listen to the theories of the podcast Fear and Beer. If you guys don't know who Fear and Beer is, they're amazing, and they actually discussed that, where twisted traditions and anything that has to do with like pumpkin esque, kind of like an aesthetic to Howling Horror Nights, it could be involved in the Pumpkin Lord lore, which is why I feel like this is going to be very close to what they might do, and I hope that it is, because we already got the shirts. A lot of us got the comic book looking shirts,
Yeah,
so we might as well put the pieces together at that point, right?
exactly. But then the next house after that is one of the houses that I think has already been
It's already
confirmed.
announced. It's
Yeah.
confirmed.
That's gonna be Puppet Theater Captive Audience. I think this is gonna be a really really good house. First of all, the whole thing with puppets. Second of all, the fact that it's gonna be an original. And from what we saw in that little peacock behind the scenes look, it looks fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So
I
like I'm
think
all
they're gonna
down.
do a good job. Yeah, I just feel like I'm gonna be in an opera house and just with a whole bunch of puppets.
Yeah.
Italy, France, the like kind of like culture
Yeah,
that's
like
like
kind of
all
like that,
twisted
like
and all that stuff.
yeah, that kind of like Palace of Versailles type aesthetic.
Oh yeah, for sure. So the
Yeah,
next one.
and I'm not looking forward to those puppets because I've just finished a section in Resident Evil 8 that has just pure puppet nightmare fuel. So I'm not in it. I'm not in it now. But anyway, enough of me talking about creepy puppets. What is our next house, Vania?
I like dolls. Anyway, our next house is my mixed feelings that everybody kind of gave me some shade today for in the Twitter community, but I still love you guys. It is the Haunting of Hill House. Reason is because y'all have been mad quiet about this house. No one has shown it hype. I mean, I'm not saying that it does or does not deserve the hype. It's just that it's more of a nobody talks about it anymore because we're not waiting for the next latest season of Haunting of Hill House that we have already confirmed. Stranger Things, we have other things confirmed for American Horror Story now. And this is something that came out 2 to 3 years ago, and if anything, I feel like it should be a combination of Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor. But I still have very much a lot of mixed feelings about it because I have watched both seasons. I think personally that Hill House is very dialogue heavy and not as detailed and story oriented as the second one. But mind you, that the second one is also a very famous story that is also public domain. And if you guys watch Bly Manor and you want a condensed version of Bly Manor, you just watch The Turning. That is also by Universal. And it's the same story, but with two different actors and whatnot. But either way, Haunting of Hill House, I'm surprised that this is still there. There's just, it's kind of baffling
Yeah.
in a sense, but
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. I'm just having so much trouble trying to see how Hill House would translate into a house because it does not have a lot of those big moments. It's very dialogue heavy. It's very just a low key type of show, kind of like more of a suspense dread show, more so than just like in your face horror. So that's why I
100%.
find it really hard to justify that as a house.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, it is gonna be something. Hopefully, it's gonna be something like American Horror Story, where they're just picking and choosing and pulling from all the iconic. I'm not saying that American Horror Story is not by any means not scary or iconic or like not as story heavy. I
Yeah.
mean, it has its dialogue heavy thoughts, but either way,
But it also
as
has
you
a
guys
good
realize,
amount. It also still has a good amount of shocking, gory, or like scary moments.
yeah. So they kind of have to pick and choose very specific scary things that people are going to remember,
Exactly.
because I'm pretty sure this is now their ammo to still bring other people of the younger generation to the event since Billie Eilish is no longer on the menu.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just have a little bit of a hard time to wrapping my head around this house, but it is what it is, and it seems like it's not going to move anywhere. So yeah, I thought for sure, I thought it was going to be one of the houses that were going to be removed from the spec map for
Yeah, I
sure.
was surprised to see that it was still on there too, but who knows? It might, it might be a pleasant surprise. If it is a confirmed house, it might be insane. Who knows? We'll have to
Yeah,
wait and see.
absolutely. So
We already know what our next house is. It's already been confirmed. Some people have already experienced it, and that's
I
Beetlejuice.
yeah, Beetlejuice. Yeah, so that's already confirmed. It's done with, over and done with. I got to experience it during HHN Light or Diet HHN and what have you. Got to experience it twice, thanks to amazing friends. Really good. You can tell there was a lot of things missing, but you can tell that they were giving it a test run, especially with contracts involved, obviously everything with legal reasoning, and that's something that, something that we could look forward to this year. But before I actually go into the other topic, but yeah, Beetlejuice is going to be definitely a good house. You guys are going to be not regret it, and I feel like it's going to be one of those houses that are going to be super packed, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
surprisingly in the back of the park. So that's also another crazy thing. So
yeah. Who knows? Like I said, that's there's a lot of surprising things. I think it has to do with maybe the facade might be different on it. Like I'm trying to see. Let me see the map here real quick. I'm trying to see where they have it located.
they have it near
Oh,
Barney.
by the
Barney.
parade warehouse. Yeah, okay. Because I feel like that would have made sense maybe by like one of the sprung tents, like the same one that they use for Insidious for Halloween, because they were able to build the houses. So I was thinking they could use that as a facade to build the Maitland house from the film.
Yeah.
But who knows? That
But
might be
they
completely
used
different.
I used the Trick or Treat house
Yeah,
for
like the same
that year.
space. Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
so
see. Looks interesting. But we have our last house on here, and this is the one we were discussing earlier, where it's kind of up in the air as to which one it could be, and that is either
yeah,
Creepshow or Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, my question, I know you haven't seen Creepshow, so would
yeah.
you? It's kind of a tough question to ask. So I'm guessing you would rather see Halloween 3 because it's something that you know.
Honestly, so it's a little weird because I've never seen Creepshow in 1982 because, of course, I didn't. I wasn't able to participate during it in HHN at home and that kind of thing. But I have seen Creepshow, the Shutter series. So I feel like it's somewhere along the same premises. Very and well, the one in Shutter is very anthology. So I don't know if Creepshow is almost like an
It
anthology in a
is,
sense,
yeah.
kind of like very sense like Trick or Treat.
Yeah, Creepshow from the 80s is very much an anthology film. It's taking place like inside a comic book, and each story is like a different like little thing in
Trick or
that
Treat's
comic
a
book.
comic book. What? Yeah, Trick or Treat's is a comic book. What
Well,
do you
no, it's the
mean?
same. It's a similar type of thing. It's actually very tough for me because I really like both of these IPs, and I would love to see wishful thinking. I would love to see both of them. Like honestly, if I could, I would replace Hill House and just put Creepshow and then leave Halloween 3 on there too, so that way I get both.
Yeah.
Halloween 3 obviously has those really cool moments. With the masks and like the robot suited men, which would be really interesting. And then with Creepshow, what's really cool about Creepshow is it could be a really fun house with its use of the sets and its use of color because Creepshow has a very distinct color palette
Yeah.
where it looks like a normal movie, but then when the actual horror stuff happens, the color palette will completely change to like reds and blues and just like really psychedelic colors. So I'd be excited to see that. Just like see, the house at first being kind of normal, but then when you get to that specific moment or that specific scene, all the color changes.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool. So I think I would have to give it, if I had to choose one, I think I would do Creepshow.
So for me, I'm basing it obviously on the wrong thing, but I feel like it's very similar. I've seen Shutter, the Shutter TV series, but I know that Creepshow also follows kind of the style as Tales from the Crypt, either or. Um, yeah, it's I definitely enjoy Trick or Treat, and the way that Trick or Treat was tied together was really nice. I just thought that Trick or Treat was very short. Of course, the bus scene did take a lot of that set, because it is the most important scene out of all the movie. But in Creepshow, I feel like in an anthology movie, it would work especially in a setting kind of like with Halloween Horror Nights. But Halloween 3, guys, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, I liked it. Don't get me wrong, I liked it. But I feel like I was watching more of a sci-fi horror film than I was a watching a horror film itself by standing by itself.
Yeah,
If
it's
you guys know what
it's
I mean.
a
Like,
wildly different type of movie.
yeah, like I wasn't expecting Michael Myers. Of course I wasn't. Like I was like, yeah, I know I'm not expecting that guy or anything. Not even just Lori to even show up. No, was it her name Lori or
Yeah,
Lori?
Laurie.
Yeah, Lori to even show up or anything. But like, this was a very sci-fi heavy movie. I was just like, whoa, this is a little weird for me to even be scared of. Like, how do you expect me to go through a house and all you see is like laser beams and masks getting melted off and just having the song like
Nice.
Happy Happy Halloween, 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 Happy Happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Like, how do you expect to deal with that through an entire house? I don't know. I feel like
Who knows? It might if it happens. I think it will be interesting. It will be different. I mean, look at Killer Clowns. Killer
I
Clowns isn't a
it
specifically scary movie. It's more of a sci-fi movie too.
yeah, but but I feel like it works in that sense because there's just a lot of dynamic scenes in Killer Clowns, and Halloween 3 I feel like it's mostly taken place in the factory, which reminds me a lot of, there's a house that it reminded me of. I just don't remember what it was. Oh my gosh. HR Blood and Guts.
Okay.
It reminded me a lot of HR Blood and Guts. I love that house, but it just reminded me a little bit more of HR Blood and Guts, where we're just kind of soaring through time. There's just some sci-fi stuff going on. You're like, what the fuck am I looking at, kind of thing. So
Gotcha.
I have mixed, like I said, I have mixed feelings about both. I would be interested to see how Halloween 3 looks, but I feel like a anthology would work best in their favor. So Creep Show for me.
Okay. So that is the last of the houses that we wanted to discuss. So now we're going to move on to the scare zones. Now this is where we had our biggest, excuse me, our biggest additions.
Change.
Yeah. So our first scare zone on there is the 30th anniversary zone.
So if you guys have been to Halloween Horror Nights 20 or Halloween Horror Nights 25 also had this.
Yes.
Where they had a zone where, you know, they had all the IPs and not the IPs, the icons, but also some IPs. They did have some in the past. And they just have them all in one little segment. You know, I thought this year they might have done something very similar. Well, they'll just get the Roman numeral 30, like really big, like they did on the 20th year. But yeah, it's gonna be
cool. I don't think they're gonna do that Roman numeral, because otherwise they would literally just be XXX, and I'm like, I don't think that's the kind of event we want to do in here.
It's kinky. We love that. Anyway.
Hashtag kinky HHN. There we go. That's our new hashtag.
Hashtag kinky HHN. Oh my god. Just create.
I'm loving this new idea of us having a different random ridiculous hashtag every episode now.
Yeah. Yeah, so
like some of the stuff I'm expecting to see on this one, though, it's like outside of the icons, I'm expecting it to be similar to what they did with 25, where they each had like their own little stage, and the stage had something related to them. Like the director had his bathtub, and the storyteller had a little rocking chair in the book and all that stuff. So I'm expecting to see something like that, also mixed with like classic scare actors.
Yeah, that's like, what I've been...
like Escape Patients from Shady Brook, or like the mirror creatures from Bloody Mary's Scare Zone. So, yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. What's actually interesting is that when I was doing my research on the Women of HHN video, a lot of those scare actors do come out during a lot of anniversaries. They did come out mostly for 25, but... a lot of those scare actors that they tend to use in years past, you do usually tend to come back. So I'm definitely 100% with you, where we will be seeing a lot of those returning Scare Zone iconic. And I'm definitely counting on seeing a lot of either Vamp 55, 85, and Vanity Ball in this zone for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about the Rob Zombie one, even though it was kind of the best scare zone out there. But that's like also like another paying. It's another extra pretty penny that they gotta pay.
Exactly.
You know? So the next scare zone we are going to be talking about is Seek and Destroy. The way I actually see this scare zone, it's kind of like little kids playing hide and go seek, but instead of playing hide, they just kind of seek and destroy things. I think that's how I'm taking of this perception of the idea, but I don't know. How about you, Yussef?
Funny enough, when I read Seek and Destroy, I just think of the Metallica song.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people
was saying. Like, yeah, I'm thinking like Seek and Destroy, and I'm like, I would love if that song played during that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like kind of something maybe like military. Maybe, because Seek and Destroy is kind of like a military term.
Yeah.
And it would be really cool to see that because I remember there being like a zombie military army type scare zone, which is really
Yeah.
cool because it was like a bunch of different soldiers from different eras of history. So you had like Civil War soldiers, you had World War One soldiers, you had World War Two soldiers, and like everything that you could think of in there. So I'm like, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, that would make more sense than my theory. I just automatically went to children playing hide and go seek. So, for sure, scratch my idea. I'm awful. Anyway, so the next one is, of course, something that I'm pretty sure the Scream Queens were super excited about, and it is an Eddie scare zone, which is their leather daddy.
That is, he is our no, he is our chainsaw leather daddy.
Chainsaw leather
And
daddy. I'm
this
sorry. Yeah.
chainsaw leather daddy better, if he has this zone, he better just have a stage just to himself. And then he has
Oh,
just
for
the
sure.
chainsaw horde just around him. But like he needs like his own stage because he's been in the shadows for way too long. He needs to be front and center.
Yeah, but what's crazy is that in the Eddie scare zone, hypothetically, it's near Fast and Furious, so he's very secluded from the world when it comes to the scare zone because they usually, you know, am I saying this correctly?
Let's see. Eddie zone
Oh
is M.
no!
No.
Do you realize something? Do you realize something,
What's that?
Yusuf? Are you seeing that?
What am I seeing on here?
So here in the Eddie's scare zone,
It's
usually right across, there's another scare zone, and that shit's not highlighted.
which would be what exactly?
Simpsons.
Yeah. Simpsons is usually where they do the chainsaw horde.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they
Interesting.
usually like have some type of theory of what they might call it, what made it's like, but nothing for Simpsons. That's interesting. I don't think in the past they have done that, where like they
So
have named.
yeah, every once in a while they'll have it on the map, but or they actually won't have it on the map. But people just already know at that point that that's where they're gonna have the chainsaw horde.
Yeah, but they usually have like a name for it by now. So I just
Yeah,
think it's interesting because usually at the opposite side of this map in Universal, we usually see a chainsaw horde near or some type near Fast and Furious, and then another one by Simpsons, if not by the New York Central Park area.
yeah. I'm interested to see what they're gonna do though.
Yeah.
Who knows? They might actually do something completely different for Simpsons now, if they do something.
Yeah, and I
But
think with Eddie though, I wonder how that's gonna play out because I feel like Eddie has just been in the shadows for way too long, especially him trying have been planned to be a icon for so long,
yeah,
and only appearing in Run, and now for him to have a proper scare zone, I get it because in the tribute store, he was featured in the merchandise.
correct.
But
Yeah,
other than that, it's more of a hidden mystery. But but that also does confirm that other icons may also not have a prominent spot, and this is more of sadly like Lady Luck, Chance, and Cindy even because we all just associate Caretaker with Cindy now.
yeah,
So
exactly. But yeah. Anyway, our next zone is one that I'm very very excited for because this is one of those things that when I read about it in the wiki and like look up the history of Horror Nights, this is like one of those big events, and I'm like, man, I really wish I could have gone to that, and that is Terra Crentis.
yeah, so with Terra Crentis, I know that correct me if I'm wrong, guys. They have to come back every certain amount of years. So
Yes.
we might actually see the Terror Queen risen. Elsa strict. No, I'm kidding. But like I still stick to that theory. No one can change my mind. Fight me. Um, but yeah, like I'm actually very excited because I actually want to see a history of HHN reborn and finally retold, and we actually get to see what are the consequences of whenever she actually comes back and reborn into this era now of the 30th anniversary, which didn't she come in the 15th? So it's like, what you would say every 15 years she comes
I
back.
I think it was either every 15 or every 20 years. I can't remember specifically, but
Yeah.
you know what? I'm okay with her coming back a little early. If it's supposed to be 20, I'm okay with her coming back in 15 because I want a Terror Queen. I need I need some Terror Queen.
I don't think we actually really like properly got her in a sense, but I would want some.
Yeah, like when that merch came out on the tribute store from last year, I remember buying the Terra Queen shirt. I bought the map of Terra Crentis. Like I just I love the story behind that so much, and like how literally the entire event was themed around that. Like that was so ambitious to me at the time.
Yeah, and it's well, either way, like it's even like written that like Elsa Strict was the one that came up with the story to actually like suck in like the guests more into the
Hmm.
story of like basically like almost trapping the guests in a storybook, trapping them in that world kind of
Yeah,
thing. So I thought that was also a really good type of writing, and of course. Another year that doesn't get enough credit is with Elsa Strict. So.
correct.
But last but not least, we are going to our last scare zone, at least for this speculation. It
Yep.
is Shutter. If you guys don't know what Shutter is, it is a horror themed, kind of like a Netflix. It just kind of has a whole bunch of selections. It has classics, Shutter originals, that kind of thing. Lots and lots of fun, especially things that you normally can't find. I'm currently watching Cabinet of Dr. Caligari on there, and it's a movie that usually is very hard to find, especially originals. So I think that's really amazing that they have that. But other than that, I just wonder what kind of Shutter originals they might actually have, which this could also mean that if Creepshow does not make it into the cut and it is Halloween 3, Creepshow can also still appear in some shape or form into the
Possible.
Shutter Scare Zone.
It's possible. It's possible. If they go off the TV show, then I can definitely see that being a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that this Shutter I'm not too familiar with. I literally had Shutter for a little bit, and then I canceled my subscription because I was broke AF.
That's
So
fair.
I need to re-get into it though, because I do want to watch like some of the originals on there. I want to watch the Joe Bob Briggs thing, like the last drive-through with Joe Bobby Briggs. Looks really cool. I really want to watch that. So I'll definitely get back into Shutter at some point. But yeah, like because I don't really know that much about it, I can't really give too much of an opinion on what I think about it as a scare zone. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's just a lot of Shutter originals that are good. There's just a lot of hit or miss with
mm,
that, but I feel like their driving force is mostly going to be Creepshow. I know that when I first got Shutter, the first thing I watched was surprisingly, well, other than Creepshow, was actually Body Bags. I actually never watched Body Bags until I actually got Shutter. So I actually really like that movie.
funny
I could
enough.
watch it all over again.
The first thing I saw when I had Shutter was Cannibal Holocaust because I was like, oh, it's supposed to be this really controversial movie. I got to see why, and I was like, I can definitely see why this is a controversial movie.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys have not given Shutter a try, you definitely should. And I'm definitely gonna watch more and more horror films now because I got connections. No, anyway. But
Yeah,
other than
and
that,
I definitely want to see one that was on there that I remember. The Scream Queens were talking about it. I don't remember the name. I have to go back into that episode and figure it
porno,
out. But I really want to watch that one too. It
the
looks
porno,
interesting. Hmm?
the porno.
The porno?
No, it's called porno. No, I shit you not. I'm not joking.
I don't think it was that one. I think it was in like the last episode that they talked about like kind of an obscure movie. I think it was called like The Sitter or like The Babysitters. I don't remember. It was like I just remember it sounded
I feel
really
like the
weird.
babysitter is more like Netflix.
I
But
don't know.
either way, I know that there's a movie called Porno that everybody's on Twitter that has Shutter said that it was a really good movie. Obviously, it's not what you think it is, but it is a horror film, and it's
Okay.
actually really good in that it's on Shutter. So I'm definitely gonna actually watch it sometime this week because I've heard so much things about it and I want to watch it. So
I'll have to look that up then, because I had no idea that was a whole thing going around about a movie called Porno. So
yeah, literally, it was in my feed for like weeks. Like it was awful. Like I was just like, damn, I feel so left out because I don't have Shutter, but now I do. But other than that, we're gonna go now that we have covered these scare zones.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we do get more details soon. We are gonna go to the shows, which are gonna be our last two topics, sadly. But don't worry, more content will be coming.
Oh yeah.
But with the shows, we have the Lagoon show. As you guys already know, that Universal already did a show called Marathon of Mayhem, which featured all the Universal monsters, Ghostbusters, Stranger Things, you freaking name it. It was an amazing show, and it actually proved to be very successful, being able to because HHN used to have two shows, two running shows, but now they know that they had to occupy their guests with another show rather than just another performance. They decided
exactly.
to do a projection show very similar to a very off-brand Disney projection show, but it actually works. And the fountain and everything of the sense in basically effects wise, it is amazing. Marathon of Mayhem. If you have not seen it, please look it up. But
Yeah.
I wonder what the Lagoon show is going to be about, because I think it's going to be maybe somehow of a montage of all the past year HHNs, and this is just including the commercials for Halloween Horror Nights icons.
Yeah, I'm thinking it has something to do with that, and if they don't go that route, and again, I'm just going based off of the current map, the current spec map, it's going to be like a compilation of all the IPs. Kind of like what they did the last year with Stranger Things and Ghostbusters and all that stuff.
Yeah. But the thing is that being Bride of Frankenstein lives being their own IP, there's not much they can use other than Bride.
Yeah.
And of course, and then there is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then we do have Haunting of Hill House and Beetlejuice, and potentially Creepshow and or Halloween 3. So I definitely see it, but I wonder with the way that their layout is going. As by the way, I say that is because if you guys remember in Halloween Horror Nights 29, it is very 80s, very synthwave, very video game esque. This sign is more of a stop sign, kind of like a caution tape over it. So it makes me wonder what kind of route they're going to be doing. Aesthetic wise, I guess, for their theme.
I think that might go back.
Go
I think that might be going back to like basics outside of the synthwave heavy stuff from like the past couple of years. Like I think they might be going back to like the classic heavy metal stuff, or like the big instrumental like horror type music, which would be nice. It would be nice to see that come back. It's been a while since we had that, so I'd like to see it come back.
I definitely want to see Halloween Horror Nights with this Lagoon show for them to go hard and heavy, but also like remember like all the other stuff that are considered classic, because this particular map, I'm not saying it looks all over the place, because it's not. It's just that Haunting of Hill House is definitely not in the spectrum of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Beetlejuice, Creepshow, and Halloween 3, where they're in the 80s, kind of 80s, 90s, while Haunting of Hill House is just a brand new thing that's there, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's just me, though. Then, last but not least, we can assume that the Jack Stage show is going to be some kind of Carnival of Carnage. I know that Discount Vincent decided to make a joke today on Twitter saying that you guys would be very disappointed when the entire Jack Stage show is just the HHN icons just doing TikTok dances. No, sir. But like, I honestly assume that it's going to be an amazing another Carnival of Carnage in some shape or form.
Honestly, I would much rather see something similar to what they had done with 16, where the show kind of rotates, so everybody, all the icons get like a mini show. and they would do their iconic kills. So like the director would do his bathtub kill, the caretaker would be like cutting into people and stuff like that. Like I would like to see that instead of just focusing on Jack, focusing on all the icons too, because they need some love too. Like they're icons for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but like the thing is, like, if it's gonna be like a stage show, like how are you gonna fit a 25-minute production with all of those iconic kills? And I feel like 100%, if you were to put all those IPs in one show, it would be Jack, Elsa Strict, storyteller. I don't know why I keep calling her by her legal name.
Her legal name, like
like
she has like her
legal
birth
name.
certificate.
Yeah. Caretaker, director. I feel like with those won't be so awkward, but if we were to ever bring other pawns, just kind of like I don't know, like Usher. Because Usher wasn't included in the 16. I mean,
Yeah.
he was included in the commercial for 20, but that's as far as we saw him as a collaboration with the other icons. And then, Bloody Mary, astounding, like I said in my video, astounding storyline, but it's just not used enough.
Yeah.
Forgotten, still a pawn of the story, but obviously forgotten.
Keep in mind
and-
though, at the tribute store with the big banner, the Usher wasn't that big banner.
Yeah, that's true. But now that also makes me think, what are they gonna do for the tribute store?
I don't know. I
Because
just know I'm
tribute store
excited.
literally got stripped.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what are you gonna do? Like, I know that the Beetlejuice part is gonna stay,
Yeah.
but there has to be.
Or
two-
rather,
I
or
know
rather, it's gonna
Bride
come
is gonna
back.
stay.
Or rather, it's gonna come
Bride
back
is
because
gonna-
right now it is the Jurassic World tribute store. But we know that once that stuff gets taken out, they're gonna add or put back some of the stuff that was in the original tribute store.
Yeah, so I feel like Bride is gonna still be back. Beetlejuice is gonna be back in some shape or form.
Yeah.
But the HHN icons bit is the part that's kind of up in the air. It's a little because they sold the paintings, they sold the prints,
Sold the banner.
that shit's gone. They're gone. I
Yeah.
went to check last time and they were just gone, non-existent. So it makes me wonder what kind of route they're taking, if they're just gonna hit all IPs where it's just like creep show, or they signed some kind of contract with Shutter and they're just, or if they are gonna do some kind of route still with the HHN icons. But I feel like they sold all the merch they needed to last year to be able to hold people off for whenever the new tribute store comes up. People
Yeah.
are not craving those vintage goods anymore. I guess they kind of want the new stuff in a sense, because they already released the new shirts, the preview shirts kind of thing. So yeah, for the Beetlejuice, which obviously I'm not wearing mine because I don't have it, but you guys already saw when that whole mess was released. So
Yeah, but that is actually everything on the spec map that could be discussed. So yeah,
a lot of stuff.
it was a lot of stuff we discussed in this episode. It was a pretty long one, but I had fun with it. We got to talk
Yeah, me
about
too.
some more stuff regarding our community, regarding the horror genre in general, which you don't get to do often. We usually kind of tend to focus on one specific thing, so it was cool to kind of branch out a little bit, do a little bit extra stuff there. So, let us do our plugs here. Let's do our basic housekeeping. Vania, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter and on YouTube as HHN Cultist. I do makeup vlogs, discussions based on Halloween Horror Nights, Universal, that kind of thing. So if you guys like all that kind of stuff and a lot of spooky and goth shit, just go follow me and you guys will get all of that. But we also do have a wonderful podcast, which is Sounds from the Grave, and we can be found on Spotify and Apple Music, and we also have social media.
Yeah.
But I'm going to actually have Yussef take it away for there.
Yes, so podcast-wise, you can find it, like Vanya said, on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere that you can find your podcasts. So if you do listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts or Apple Music, if you guys would be so kind as to give us a 5-star review, it does help our podcast grow, kind of reach out and branch out to more people, be able to reach other listeners and get them involved in the Sounds from the Grave community type thing that we're trying to build here. And then outside of that, we also have our YouTube channel. We were doing a Resident Evil Village playthrough. I ran into some huge issues regarding game capture, and I just kind of gave up on it because I was getting extremely frustrated. I was literally losing sleep over it, trying to figure out what the issue was, and I'm just like, okay, I'm stressing out over this too much. I'm just gonna let it go at this point. I feel awful for letting it go, but I kind of have to because it's too stressful for me right now.
That's fair.
But I do have some extra videos out on the way pretty soon. I'm just finishing up some edits on one, and that'll be out very, very soon. But outside of that, personal wise, you can find, or actually continuing on the podcast, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And we also have our email. It is soundsfromthegravepodcast@gmail.com. So if you want to reach out to us, if you want to ask us any questions, if you want to give us your opinion on something that we discussed in an episode, or if you want to be on the show as a guest, do not hesitate to contact us. We would be more than happy to have you on the show. It would be nice to have that third opinion on here.
Yes, absolutely. So I definitely hope that you guys enjoyed this podcast. I know that we kind of threw a lot of information at you, but we are super excited for all of this information. We get to have a Halloween Horror Nights. We get to have in Hollow Streams in Orlando. We get to have everything, and especially a lot of horror films coming out. So a lot more is to come now that it is finally towards the end of end times for sure.
So with this, we will bid you a good night or good day, whichever one depends on your time of listening to this.
So see you guys and take very much care and stay spooky.
Yes, and also happy Pride for this month.
Happy Pride.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.